how you doing? So I hope you've had a great week. It's been amazing for me here at the Contemporary PA. So busy. Everyone's clearly back after Christmas and getting back into full swing of things. Picked up 2 clients in less than a week, which is great news, and sending out inquiries pretty much on a daily basis, so that's fantastic from my point of view. Been busy today working on lots of graphics and lots of ads for my clients, so obviously lots of marketing and lots of advertising going on, which I guess again, time of year, trying to drum up some business for everyone, so that's been really exciting and really good fun. Also been getting together some Excel spreadsheets for some clients just so they can start keeping a track on their income and expenditure, and that's kind of what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to run through a little bit of Excel and how you can keep very basic accounts, use them to analyse your costs, work out your percentages of what your income is versus your expenses, what's costing you the most money, where you can save the most money, and how you can then use that to forecast for next year. So again, I'm going to turn this around and you're not going to see my face again this week, I'm afraid, and I'm going to turn you around so you can see the screen, see what's going on, and just have a bit of run through with the Excel. Okay, so I'm just showing you guys a very basic Excel spreadsheet that you can use if you don't have the money to go and spend on systems which are available online, or maybe if you want a second lot of systems, a second lot of spreadsheets, just to make sure. I myself use 2 different systems to keep a track of my expenses. I always keep an Excel spreadsheet, and I also use an online system. That way if something goes wrong, I've got a backup. Obviously you back up your systems as well anyway, so hopefully you should have that, but I always like to double check, so I like to do my own spreadsheet as well. Really useful for keeping a track on exactly what you're spending it on. Great for forecasting next year's expenditure and how much you need to put aside, so they're really useful. As I say, it's a really simple system. There's nothing whizzy about it. You literally have your dates, which is pretty obvious. It's the date that you've incurred the cost, your description. Obviously, the more you put in here, the better, because when you come to do your tax returns at the end of the year, you're not necessarily going to remember what you spent at the beginning of the year. So instead of just putting advertising or ad, it's always good to have a little bit of detail in there. And that goes on to why I always put the company and the invoice number there as well. Then also, if I've got any problems, I can refer back to the invoices. I know I've kept the receipts and things, so I always add those on. Then at the end, you've obviously got your net, your VAT, and your gross. So your net is obviously before any VAT's added at all. That's the figure that you can type in. I mean, you're free to type all these in that you want to, but I tend to do sums for the VAT and gross. So I just enter my net from that invoice. And then for the VAT, it's just a simple auto sum. It's auto sum. And then your net figure times by 20, because that's the percentage, and the symbol %. And you can see that works out there. What you can do is click on the little box in the corner here and drag it down, and then it will auto fill in the sum in the rest of those boxes for you. The gross is obviously a sum as well, and it's a sum to add the net and the VAT. So you click on your auto sum at the top, and it's your net figure plus your VAT figure, and it is as simple as that. And again, you can copy the formula down. Then I always make a subtotal of that area that I spent it on, and you'll see why a bit later on. But again, it's just a simple sum, which is your auto sum, and it pre-selects it for you. So it works those out. In terms of your gross total, you can either total all the bits in G, or you can total your net and your VAT total to get that figure there. And again, I just copy those down for all my expenses, so you can separate all your expenses there, have a running subtotal, and then right at the bottom, you've got your total of all your expenses. So that's a really quick, simple, easy expenses calculator spreadsheet. Then you've got your income, which Again, I always put the date, the service that I've offered the client, who my client is, the invoice number, the net amount, and again I use the sum, the auto sum, to fill out my VAT and my gross. You can fill it in if you want to, but you know, sometimes it's easier just whack in one figure and then it to do the rest for you. So again, it is just your sum, and then it's your net times by your 20%, just like it was on your expenditure. And then your gross, again, is your net plus your VAT, again, like it was on your expenditure. And again, down the bottom, I just have a total, which is auto sum, and it's the whole column. And again, at the end here, you can either do auto sum the whole column or auto sum and your net and VAT figure there. What I do suggest doing, if you have no online system or no way of generating invoices without manually doing it via something like Word, is to keep a track of the invoices that you've sent. So my income spreadsheet, I never put the invoices in there until they've been paid. So therefore I need some way of knowing exactly what I've sent invoice wise, so I know what's outstanding. So what I do at the bottom of these spreadsheets as well is I have a tab which is my invoices sent, and into there I literally just put the details of the invoices that I've sent, and then once they've been paid I copy them out of here and then I put them onto my income, and you can see that it gives the running total down there. And that's what I would do for a very, very basic income and expenditure, and keeping track of my invoices, what's been paid and what hasn't been paid. And then what you can do with this information, if you wanted to, is you can analyse and keep a track of the percentage that you're spending, what each expenses area is actually costing you percentage-wise against your income. So on this one, it's actually something one of my clients has asked me to do for them. They want to keep a track of the labour cost versus their weekly take-ins and monthly take-ins. So what I do is I break it down over here into the weeks. So my weeks, I always begin on a Monday. Some people begin on a Sunday. It just depends how you work and how your accounting system works. But I always put my dates that the week's begun here, and then you can see it breaks it down into the Mondays, the Tuesdays, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, you've got your weekly figure, which again is just an auto sum. So you click your auto sum and it adds up your Monday to Sunday to give you that figure at the end. And then I also always add up to give the monthly take-ins down here, which again is your auto sum, which is your sum button, and then it's all those columns added together. So as you can see, that gives me an overview of my weekly, my daily, and my monthly takings. And then under that, I have a very similar spreadsheet, part of the spreadsheet, for my expenses. So again, it's broken down into my weeks, my days, and my months. The formulas and the sums are exactly the same as above. So you're adding up your lines for your days to get your week, and then you're adding up your weeks to get your month down the bottom. So what we can do is we can pop in, say for example, the 20 seconds takings. Just to give an example. And as I say, this one's set up for staffing. So this would be how much my staff are costing me, for example. And then, as I say, it changes these figures at the end here to give you your overview of how much they're costing daily, weekly, and monthly. And then what I do to get my percentages, to see how much actually of my takings that certain expense is costing me, is I bring down here a new formula. So you can see I've got my dates, which refer to these ones. So I would copy these so I know which one they refer to. And then each week will have its own percentage. And to work out that sum, you have to hit your auto sum. And then you take the total cost of that expense and you divide it by your total income of that week. And again, you can drag and drop the formula down so it'll figure those out. And then for the monthly, again, it's just another simple formula. So it's your sum button, and then it's your monthly figure divided by your monthly income figure. And you can see there. So that gives you an overview of the expenses in a percentage. So it's great for if you're trying to figure out where you want to save money, or whether you want to find some money to be able to put aside for something else. So for your marketing, for example, it's really, really easy to use it for this. So you can adapt it as well. As I say, this one is adapted for weekly staffing, but use it for different expenses as well. So you can use it for the expenses that you've got on your expenditure. So you could head over to your expenditure here, and you could look at, say, you could grab one of these and pop them, so say £72 for your marketing and advertising, which you just put in the end here, and change that. And you could see how much that's then costing you as a percentage. Obviously, you'd fiddle around with it a little bit more to maybe make these less of a weekly and a monthly and more of a yearly thing, or a monthly. It depends how you run it, but you can fiddle those around to have a play. And as I say, the most important thing is then you get these percentages at the bottom, so you can actually see exactly what you're spending and how much each thing is costing you. Okay, and then obviously, like, you can change these spreadsheets around a bit, so you can make them monthly or you can make them yearly. You don't have to just do your staffing costs on there, you can do any of your expenses. So you can have an overview of how much your advertising, for example, is costing you a year as a percentage. So it's a really, really good tool to be able to use, to be able to keep an eye on things daily, monthly, especially when you're starting out. You know, the daily, the weekly and the monthly are really, really important. Obviously, the more established you become, you look at them over a year, and you can view your years and past years, and like I said earlier, you can use it to forecast the future as well. So you've got a better idea of how much things are costing you, how much you need to be spending and allowing, which, you know, allows you to then forecast takings for the next few years. It allows you to forecast how much you need to budget for staffing the next few years, where you need to save money. So it's a really useful tool to be able to do that and to get those percentages. If you're really, really clever, you can have them all on one page, and you can add your little pie charts and things so you can compare them. But yeah, that's a very quick and simple rundown of how you can use Excel to do basic accounts and just have an overview of what's going on for your income versus your expenditure.